Hello, welcome to Ranching Cattle and Sheep in Idaho. This presentation was created and narrated by Mrs. Curtis. Idaho has many large open areas that are good for grazing cattle. When the miners came here, the cattle industry started to boom. The miners needed food. Longhorn cattle were brought to Idaho from Texas. Other cattle were brought from Nebraska and California. Cattle were allowed to roam and graze on the lush green grasses of the Idaho prairies. This was called the open range. There were no fences to separate the animals. They all grazed in the same meadows. In the fall, the cattle were gathered together. This was called a roundup. The cattle were taken to market. Some were taken by railroad to the cities far away. The cattle were sold, and the money was sent to the ranchers. Because of the brand on the cattle, the ranchers knew who each calf belonged to. That's why brands are so important. Each rancher had their own brand. Every spring, the new calves were branded by the cowboys. The baby calves stayed close to their mothers. The cowboys would brand the babies with the same brand as the mother. When the cows were taken to market, a person would keep track of how many cows had each brand. The money was sent to those ranchers. Since the winters were mild in the valleys, the ranchers did not need a place to keep their livestock. This was great. It did not cost the ranchers anything to feed or house the animals. These men became rich very quickly. Cattlemen liked the open range. Large numbers of sheep arrived in 1875. Sheep gave wool as well as meat. They could not be turned loose like the cattle. They had to be herded and taken care of. Sheep herders used a dog to help them herd the sheep. The sheep herders did not want wild animals like coyotes to kill the sheep. They wanted to build fences to protect their sheep. The cattlemen did not like having sheep on what they considered to be their land. They said that the sheep ate the grass too low to the ground. These differences caused bad feelings between the sheep herders and the cattlemen. There were shootings, bombings, and poisonings. The people who did these things were not usually caught. One man was caught and brought to trial. His name was Diamond Field Jack. He was accused of killing 2 sheep herders. He was found guilty and sentenced to hanging. Another man said he was the one who had killed the sheep herders. This man was very important in that area. He said he shot the sheep herders in self-defense. The man was found not guilty and set free. After a while, Diamond Field was set free. From that time on, most of the sheep herders and cattlemen tried harder to get along. Cattle and sheep are important to Idaho today. Most cattle do not roam like they used to. Many are fed in feedlots. They eat grain instead of grass. Sheep are still herded by sheep herders. Some animals still graze on national forest lands. The ranchers pay a fee to use this land.